next is Nier, I think. Right?
Wow.
What do you have for us? You
I
have a
have
spicy one
a
for
I have a
Sensei.
show. I have a
Get-
show
get-
for you.
You have
I
a
have a show and a half.
Quote
cinematic
unquote show. Quote
experience.
unquote. I'm saying
Calling
you
it a
have the cinematic
show,
quotes.
Yeah.
that
So
just
I
doesn't do it
watched
justice.
I watched Sugina Ko ga Megane wa Wasureta, otherwise known as The Girl I
Sukiyaki.
Like Forgot Her Glasses.
Yes.
This is a studio Gohan's production.
A studio that, according to the Sakug fans out there, where people looked at with anticipation for a while before these sorts of things happen.
Yeah, I don't
Which
know.
is a surprise for me because I've literally been there since their Princess Lover days, and I've never really been.
Yeah, I don't know what era that was. I don't know if that what time span that was. Maybe
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
maybe that was across like 5 minutes. But as far as I'm aware, in my tenure of watching anime, there has really never been an era where somebody
Yeah.
has been like Studio Gohan's. Fuck yes,
I mean,
dude.
yes, exactly. Except for like
Nier.
Marduk Scramble. That was
Yeah.
it.
Here, what about K? Don't you love K?
No.
Wait, did anybody here actually watch K? Like
Hell no.
all this anime except for me?
No.
All of it? Fuck no. What are you insane?
I watched all of it.
No,
I actually
I
watched all of
watched
it.
like
Did you watch the sequel too?
Yes.
dude, you are fucked in the head. Like
Nice.
I think I watched like a few episodes of the first series and I was like, wait a minute. This
See,
is
I
this
watched-
is psychotic and also
I watched
gay.
more Gohans than probably most people that talk about Gohans. Probably 99% of people that talk about Gohans.
Did you watch
And
Handshakers though, Spire?
I watched a little bit of Handshakers, yes,
Did
when
you-
it came out.
What about doubles?
Wiz? I think Wiz is the.
I don't know, man.
I did not watch that
But
one.
what about Marduk Scramble?
Yeah.
Marduk
watched
Scramble,
Marduk
that was also
Scramble.
Gohan's, right?
Yes.
Yes, Marduk
That was one of
Scramble
the
is like
earliest.
the only. Yeah.
One of the earliest.
I don't know, man. I'll just say the only thing I liked from Gohan's was Setokai Yaku Indomo, and the like 9 OVAs.
Yeah. So if you don't know, Gohan's is a somewhat infamous studio.
Mhm.
They sort of like made their debut with Princess Lover, right?
Yes, I believe.
And then it was SYD.
Which is like a pretty safe pick, in my
Yeah.
opinion, especially in 2009, where like
Yeah,
2005, 2010 was like a very safe thing for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Princess Lover was really nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
Then they moved on to SYD, which is sort of like a cult classic, right? It wasn't. I feel like it wasn't really that popular when it came out.
It was
I
not.
liked it,
It was
though.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
It became more popular later for some weird reason.
Yeah.
But I think Seitokai Yakundumo has always been pretty.
Yeah, it
niche.
definitely
And,
has
like,
a cult following.
Yeah.
And then afterwards they did the Marduk Scramble trilogy, the trilogy of films.
Yes.
Which I personally am a big fan of. I think they're very stylistically unique. They have a very gritty, cyberpunk setting, while sort of circumnavigating the sort of stereotypical cyberpunk aesthetics by having very bright colors a lot of the times, while also still being very dark.
Hold on,
Thematically,
Nier. What do you like better, Marduk Scramble or Kara no Kyokai?
Kara no Kyokai, like what?
Okay.
Like what?
Just making sure.
I mean, I'd say Marduk Scramble as like a set of films is probably stronger overall. Because Kara no Kyokai has some very weak links. But if you're just talking like highs, then obviously Kara no Kyokai. But after that they did the infamous K, which is probably the biggest project they've ever done.
Yeah. It is essentially Gohan's to K project is as Kyoto Animation Studios to Free. It is pretty much their Fujoshi moneymaker.
Or Shaft to Madoka /
Yes.
Monogatari, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
K's
they're
K's a
catching up.
pretty big series. I think it has like what 2 seasons and like 2 movies, or no,
Yeah,
like
3 movies at least. No,
yeah, something like that.
6-part film series apparently.
Oh, really? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ. Um,
Jesus Christ.
but yeah,
And another movie that's like apart from those 6-part film
of
series.
course, of course, of course.
Of course,
Um,
gotta feed those Fujoshis.
and yeah, they've pretty much been riding off the K high ever
Mhm.
since. They did make
Yes.
Handshakers, which was an absolute fucking
Made is a very
abomination.
generous word
Yeah,
to use
they
there.
they
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 birthed.
finally
they
cracked.
they they
They
Those
summoned.
they birthed
They
Handshakers
summoned.
with an alchemical concoction of some sort. And somehow it
those
got
like
it got like
those
2 seasons and a spin-off series.
those like alien scenes or like those like hentai scenes where it's just like the eggs just like come out. That's what I imagine with
Yeah,
Handshaker.
it kind of
Handshakers
just
was
it kind of just
a fucking. It
That-
was born out of primordial ooze.
yeah, it
Okay?
kind of just
Yeah, yeah.
flashed into existence as like an eldritch being, and Gohan's was like, we can make money off of this.
People like the shiny stuff, right? As it got like memes on Twitter.
Yeah, they're like, wow, we're
So
really popular. We're so popular.
and now yeah, they are back.
Yes.
They're doing 2 projects this season, which is very ambitious
Yes.
for a studio like
It's not like
Gohan's.
JC staff or like production
Yeah.
IG. Yeah, exactly.
And one of them is Tsukimega. It is a sort of comedy romance like rom-com series, high school rom-com. But 2 characters. The main character being Komura Kaide. He has a crush on the girl he sits next to in class, who is Mie Ai. And she wears glasses. And one day, she forgets her glasses, and she can't see too good. So she asks Komura for help in sort of seeing the textbooks and navigating class. And through that, they sort of get acquainted with each other. And then rom-com stuff happens from there. It is very
Yep.
basic premise, and there's really not too much
It's
to
just
talk about.
episodic, right? Just episodic.
From what I can gather, it looks pretty episodic.
Okay.
From what I could see from the manga, it's relatively episodic. Sort of just them slowly getting closer to each other, doing a bit of
Right.
rom-com shenanigans, the usual, right?
Is
nothing
it
too
standard?
crazy.
Is it kind of there's no weird uh not even sidekick, but third lay or third the like love triangle kind of thing. It's just like a very standard slice of life ish, like what we've seen with a lot of other stuff, right? With something like Komi-san or Takagi-san or whatever, right? Kind of like that.
From what I can tell, yeah.
Okay.
There are obviously side characters.
Yeah.
It's not it's not like a single male protagonist thing surrounded by a bunch of girls story. There are male side characters from what I can see, but nothing I read had sort of indicated any sort of love triangle or jealousy thing. At least not in any sort of serious like story context. It might be like a gag or something here and there, but it does seem relatively episodic, comedy focused series. And outside of that, there's not too much to talk about in terms of story. I do think the character interactions are pretty cute. The main girl, Mie, is pretty cute. She has sort of sleepy, listless personality. She's a bit of an airhead. She kind of reminds me of what was the main girl's name from Sakura So? She's kind of like that, right?
Oh, I
In
guess
her
it's
sort
just
of
like a
comedic bents.
kind of like a
She's
kudere kind of stuff.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Mashiro Shina.
Yeah. She's voiced by Wakayama Shion, who recently has made waves, of course, voicing Takena Inoue from Licorice Recoil. She was also in, what was it, Police in a Pod, Tactopus, and Danizinan. And she's doing a very good, sleepy voice. It's quite cute. The main character, Komura, is a little bit boring, I think, for this series. Like some of the gags that they're doing is like, you'd sort of expect some of a slapstick reaction from him in sort of the way the gags flow, but he's quite subdued. And I'm not sure if it's just the voice performance or if it's just like that in the source material.
Hmm.
But he has this sort of like shy teenager kind of thing where whenever Mie gets close to him, he has to look away and he blushes and stuff like that. He's voiced by Masahiro Ito, who is very main character man kind of thing. He's doing a pretty standard voice here. Overall, the voices are solid. Now, to the meat of this series, right? I want to get into the staff, because the staff paints a picture, right? Obviously, being Studio Gohan's, the director, Susumu Kudo,
Yes.
has quite the career, right? Sort of starting off with a lot of OVAs and stuff, and then going into his Studio Gohan's career. He started off storyboarding and episode director on Princess Lover, right? He directed the weird like monkey thing they did, and then he
Oh
also
yeah. That's so
immediately
yeah.
directed, storyboarded all three Marduk Scramble movies, and then he was the director and series director for K, right?
Yes.
And obviously, this is the most important thing, right? Because K, for those of you who don't know, has a very, very specific style to it, right? And this has sort of, well, absolutely carried over into Tsukimega.
Yeah, most of the thing is, I do want to point out that most of the core staff, at least from the early days, even before K, like I want to say Setukai Yakundomo and even Princess Lovers days onward, have like the core sort of set of the very top people for Gohans has been pretty similar. It's just
Yeah,
that a
I mean,
couple of people have
Studio
been kind of
Gohan's is a relatively small studio,
yeah,
right? They
exactly.
seem pretty tight knit.
Except it's just a couple of people who have started to probably rise up to the top, coupled with changes in their probably perspectives, right?
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
some
I want
people
to say.
drifting in and out.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the staff is again largely K project. You have some interesting stuff for music. Deco 27, who's a pretty famous Vocaloid producer, doing theme song lyrics. The obviously the theme song is sung by the two main lead voice actors. Other than that, nothing too crazy. And now on to the audio visuals, which I think is what most of us want to talk about here, right? So Sugimega has a very ambitious philosophy, I guess, in terms of how it wants to present
Yes.
itself. So the first 3 minutes of this series are probably some of the strangest, most insane, jarring, confusing shots I've ever seen from a series that isn't something like a Masaki Yuasa series. You know what I mean?
It kind of it just like the headspace I'm in as I'm watching these shots, by the way, is I'm constantly transported between Oh, am I watching Kofuku Graffiti? No, I'm watching like Akuno Hano. No, wait, I'm watching something like K Project. No, like it's just
Yeah.
like bunch of random styles just
It
being juggled.
is all over the place. So we're working with fisheye lenses. We're working with extremely like blown the fuck out colors, rainbow colors.
Yes.
Very, very, very low to the ground camera angles.
Dark
Like,
Don't worry, I've got a slideshow
extremely
ready.
extremely low to the ground
Holy
camera
sh-
angles.
Oh my god.
As if you are an insect. You are a bug.
Oh,
in
that
this high
leg
school.
perspective. Oh, this
Yes.
is so
So
not
these
good.
these screenshots, by the way, that are on stream, are like they do no justice at all to the way this looks in motion, right? These walk cycles are insane.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
also
exactly.
when Nier says in the first 3 minutes, he means for the first 3 minutes, by the way.
Yes,
Like it doesn't stop. Like you
Yeah,
get no breather.
There is no stopping on the fucking roller coaster that is the first 3 minutes of this series.
Everybody is a giraffe in this series.
Yeah, it is insane. It is some of the most insane perspectives I've ever seen, from a series that isn't trying to do like some crazy, like, fucked up psychological, perspective or something. Like, this is a rom-com high school series, by the way. Like, these shots are crazy.
Yeah,
They're fucking insane.
You genuinely like expect to be unsettled because you've been given
Yeah, like-
motion sickness for 3 minutes.
They're wild. And I want to say, for a lot of them, they don't even like look that bad, right? Obviously, the perspective is jarring. It's fucking strange.
Well, what you're thinking is like when you're looking at them, you say, "Hey, if this was in the right perspective, this would look okay. Like this
Yeah,
would look fine,
it would.
except for maybe like the 3D blending. You could have done a little bit better or whatever.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
beyond that, could have. It looks fine if you had them in the right perspective,
yeah.
or if you had the right shots.
So the animators absolutely 100% did their job, right? Like they did a good job with what they were given. However, I think the storyboards and the directing that some of these animators were given was just like what do I do with this? What do I do with this?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there is a shot. It's in the PV. I think one of the first trailers for this series, where the main character is sort of walking up a set of stairs, and the camera decides to not just follow the main character, but sort of whip around him in this very strange, like fisheye, sometimes fisheye lens. And then it follows like under his heels as he gets to the top of the stairs, and then it whips around him again as he turns into the hallway. And it's like you guys were crazy for even trying to attempt this.
Yeah, exactly.
The fact that nobody like in pre-production was like put someone to the side and was, hey man, this isn't gonna work. And even if we do this, like it's gonna look fucked up.
Yeah, like the fact that no one was like, this is a rom-com series, right?
Yeah, like this is not a series that calls for these shots. So that's in the first 3 minutes, right? And after that, it really just calms down. It calms down quite a bit. A lot of the first episode is the two main characters sort of sitting in the classroom, acting out this sort of bit where Mie has forgotten her glasses. She can't see. She needs to be sitting right next to the main character, so they can, exchange textbooks, right? And obviously, because she can't see, she needs to get very close to the textbooks. And because she can't see, she needs to get very close to the main character to sort of discern, what he looks like. And some, hijinks happen from that. And when that's happening, this is a normal show, right? And in fact, it's a pretty good looking show, if I do say so myself. The hair is animated pretty well. It's very detailed. Again, this is a very ambitious project from GoHands because the female lead in this series has very fluffy hair, and they decided to like really animate almost every fucking strand of her hair. Usually in anime, when a character has very fluffy hair, they don't make it that detailed because obviously, that's a lot to draw. But GoHands was like, you know what? Fuck that. We're just gonna draw it very detailed, and every time she moves, like different strands of hair are gonna be moving around as well. So I feel very bad for whoever has to animate all that shit, but it looks pretty good. The character acting is solid for what they're going for here. There are definitely a lot of moments. Like there's a dodgeball scene in this episode, and they don't actually play the dodgeball. They're kind of just like talking on the court because she had forgotten her glasses, and they're sort of doing a skit about how are you going to play dodgeball when you can't even fucking see, right?
Right.
And the character acting in that scene is like the literal definition of over animated. I haven't seen like a textbook example of like over animation since probably, you remember that Okada Marie movie that we covered like a few years back
The whales one, or what are you talking about?
with like the girl that did like she couldn't speak, right?
Oh, Anthem of the Heart? I
Yes.
think? Yes.
So there's a scene in Anthem of the Heart where I think she just gets her voice back or something, and she like cries. It's like the first time.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's so over animated. You know the scene I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I haven't seen a case of like textbook over animation since that scene. It's crazy. Like these people are just having a normal conversation and they're freaking out. It's really funny. But like for the most part, this is a decent looking series. The color palette is a bit strange. A lot of the time, it's like it's warm, but it's muted, and it's
The
kind of like
problem
it's
is,
clashing
it
with
looks like they
itself.
put. It looks like, they were like, oh, we want to change like the color grading on this, so we're just gonna put like a fucking Instagram filter on the
Yeah,
show
there's
instead
definitely a
of
lot of
like
like weird like
properly
filters.
coloring it.
But it doesn't look terrible. I think for some of it, it looks okay. They definitely kind of want to do a sort of pseudo Hyoka kind of vibe with some of it.
Yeah. Like that's what it kept reminding me. It's like you guys want to do Hyoka, but you guys are not. You guys are trying to. I don't know. It just there's just something that it just isn't working out right now. That's like what I feel.
Yeah.
I think it literally is just the amount of post processing on the show. There's like a lot of
Probably.
there's a lot of
And
like vignette shading and
yeah,
stuff like
I don't
that. It's
know
not
if some
it's
of
not the
that
end
I
of the
think
will.
those are
world,
those
but
are
it's just
artifacts
like
from their case stuff, right?
Definitely,
This
yeah.
is what
oh, I
absolutely.
mean, all of this is like an artifact from around
Yeah,
that.
I don't know if some of that will go away as the series goes on because as is sort of the norm for a lot of anime series, a lot of the times they kind of put a lot of this stuff up front in the first episode, right?
Yes.
And it just so happens to be that Gohan's idea of sort of wowing the crowd is a bit counterproductive a lot of times. So maybe they'll tone it down a bit. Maybe it'll become a little bit more cohesive in terms of color grading and some of the visual effects. But yeah, overall, I went into this series expecting it to look like dog shit, right? Twitter has been sort of clowning on this series, not unjustified at all, by the way.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
these shots are fucking like bonkers. Like I don't know who was in charge of these shots, but they need to calm down. right? But overall, this isn't a bad looking show, right? A lot of the CG backgrounds are a bit jarring with the way some of the characters move through them. However, I will say some of them do look really good. I think personally, the scenes where they're in like the Foot Lockers, like the shoe cubbies or whatever that they have, like that little environment they have looks really good. As a matter of fact, like I would say it's pretty much on par or on the level of like the sort of CG backgrounds that they used for the Kizu Monogatari movies. Like some of them look really good with the way that they have the lighting going through them and stuff. But yeah, overall, this is a little bit of a messy first showing for this series. I think this premise is really safe. The character interactions are pretty good. Again, the voice performances are solid. This doesn't seem like a bad show at all. I think if you're looking
It's just the direction. The
Yeah.
art direction needs to be a little bit.
I think if you're looking for a decent rom-com, this is definitely something worth checking out. Again, if you can push past that first like 3 to 4 minutes, that's just like it literally fucking brain blasts you. Like it's insane. But once you get past that, you get a quaint little cute series, right?
Yeah, I mean the premise and everything around it is very. As long as you don't stare at the screen too hard, it's very innocuous.
Yeah, yeah. Overall, it's not bad. I think it's a solid, 6.5, 7 out of 10. Studio Gohan's hopefully will tone it back a little bit with some of these more, not series that are their boys having sword fights in the middle of abandoned malls all the time. Series, but I think it's an okay first episode. I'll definitely keep my eye on this one. I really expected this to just be sort of like, you watch it, you clown on it, and then you drop it, right? But it's pretty cute, and I might keep up with it. I may drop it later on. I don't know, but for now it's okay.
Okay, wait.
Do you
guys,
like
Here's
do you like the brightness of this anime? Because it looks it's a bit too dull for my taste. It's like
Yeah, again, I do think the color palette is sort of conflicting with itself.
it's not
Where
bright enough.
they've got these filters where it
It's
almost looks
cinematic.
washed out, but it's also a bit like dark, but it's also bright at the same time. It's a very strange color palette they've got going on.
It reminds me, and this is like kind of a really weird and fucked up and kind of sad thing to say about anything. It very much reminds me of like the Octopath Traveler type shit going
Kind
on,
of,
where you're
yeah,
like,
yeah. There's a little bit
there's too much
like
effects here. Like
yeah,
you
it
could have
sort of
you could have
muddies
literally
the
like
picture.
toggled it, like you could have just turned it off, and it would probably look better because
Yeah,
it would just be clearer.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't hate the color palette personally. It is.
I think it
It's
is. I think it is just the like that like bloomish like bloomed
Yeah.
out orangey
much
effect
blue,
to
my
it.
dude.
I don't think it's like I don't think it's necessarily like the color palette. I think it's just the clash between those, you know?
Yeah, I do think they'll probably tone it down as the series goes on, but
yeah, I linked you guys, by the way, DM of sort of an episode, and this is the second season of K. This is one of the episodes. I had to search for a little bit, but what it's like this battle scene. It's like what they tried to do, but with a slice of life series about a girl wearing glass.
yeah,
This
like
is
it's insane, man. Like there's
this
just
battle scene is like they're trying to put that in a slice of life, and you're like, no,
yeah, and then
I
the
don't think you
dude's
should be doing that.
the dude is literally just walking down the street, and they're like, okay, how do we make this as like ADHD as possible?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like you actually don't need to do that, Gohans. You don't. You can just have a quaint, like calm, serene scene as he walks to school.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need the camera to be whipping around his ankles. But yeah.
Very
Near, don't
unfortunate.
you look? Is this why there were so many giantess dojins like a few days ago?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about when you say that, because I think that is a phenomenon entirely located within your computer. Because I haven't been seeing that. So
Anyways, Near, if you want to wrap up, what score would you give it? Mouse score.
I mean, yeah, I think a 6.5 to 7
Right,
is
yeah.
is a solid score. This is
What
currently
would
sitting at a 7.2 on Mal, which is honestly kind of surprising.
yeah.
You know, a lot of the reception to this that I've seen personally has been pretty negative, largely because of, you know, those opening shots. But again, once you get past that, I do think this is a decent series.
Right.
But yeah.
But Near, is it better than keys knivers? Or I mean handshakers? I don't know anymore.
I mean, Handshakers was like visually bad. Like Handshakers was
Handshakers
just
nonsense.
Handshakers was actually poorly animated, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And
Like it
the
just did not look
Handshakers
good.
itself, just like also the plot for it, I
Yeah, the
wasn't
premise
impressed.
was really dumb. It was very generic. Like you could see where it was gonna go from a million miles away. This is a much safer series. The animation itself is actually decent. So yeah, this is definitely way better than fucking Handshakers. Like Handshakers was an abomination. I'm honestly
Handshakers was
like, if
Handshakers
GoHands
for
didn't
GoHands.
have the
Yeah.
K Project money, like Handshakers would have shut down
Would've-
that studio.
yeah,
just straight up.
they would have ruined them actually. This and Wiz or whatever the
Yeah.
fucking shit was. But yeah, this is essentially the Mikaka City actors for GoHands.
Yeah, like
Essentially, it was not good. But yeah, anyways, thank you, Nier, for helping to cover. I think one of the series that unfortunately we did need to cover in this season, the girl like forgot her glasses, just because it was kind of the subject, and as it was a smaller series, but it was unfortunately one that got attention on social media all the time. But anyways, this was the girl like forgot her glasses. It is a manga original. 好きな子がメガネを忘れた also known as Skimega. Skimega is the abbreviation here. And yeah, if you like it, if you want to check it out, I mean, you can read the manga too. So you maybe check that out as well.